Hey there, LJ back with this kind of another deep moment in the yoga journey. And this one is even a little bit like humbling to own, but then empowering. Another one of those. But yeah, really starting to realize myself and starting to actually practice this more and use this more as I realize it. How connected I feel with myself affects, impacts, influences my dynamics with others. Darn it. And yay. Right? And gosh, it's just, I want to judge myself for not having realized this that much until now at this stage in life. But I guess I'm glad to be realizing it. And really what I see here, and maybe you've experienced this too, is that when I'm not feeling as connected to myself, which I don't even always, I'm still learning to notice when that's the case, and that's the problem, and that's the deal, is when I'm not feeling connected to myself, or to maybe even, I could say, my more true self, my heartful self, my soul, my spirit team. So when I'm feeling disconnected, which again, I'm still learning to notice and realize that that's the reason I'm feeling how I'm feeling at various times, is generally just to say it's a feeling of disconnection, right? Because we realize when we are feeling connected to ourselves, to our heart, to our soul, to our spirit team, to the universe, that we feel and function so differently, right? And we're probably going to be going out in the world in such a different way and ready to be with our loved ones in such a different way, and even meeting new people be in such a different energy when we're feeling more connected to ourselves, and when we're feeling more connected in general, the ways we like to feel connected, whether it's in our perspectives, in our psychology. It really affects how we connect with others, right? And one of the ways I notice this, and this is kind of me being vulnerable to share this, but I see myself sometimes like doing this, like a reaching for connection with others, and sometimes feeling like I'm not getting the connection that I'm looking for. Or I'll even see ways that I might be sabotaging the connections that I do have, like not even trying to. Or questioning them, or straining them. But I think it's because it's sometimes when I'm coming from this place of not being as connected as I could be, not as connected with myself, with my heart, with my soul, with my spirit team, with the universe, whatever you want to call it, then I'm just being different in those friendships, different in my love relationships of all sorts, because it's like I'm looking for something outside of myself that really I can only find within myself. And so not saying that we can't find connection through other people, right? Because I know I love the feelings of connection I can feel with other people. And that's a beautiful part of life, right? But I think I'm noticing finally that the great feeling moments of connection with other people come from my feeling more connected within myself. And not that being with other people doesn't often, when I'm with certain people, it helps me connect more with myself, which is really beautiful, right? To realize when we have friends that help us connect with ourselves more, right? Versus the opposite, having people around us that for some reason we might respond to being with them in a way that kind of disconnects us from ourselves, or we have to kind of disconnect ourselves from a part of ourselves in order to be with them, right? So that's beautiful too, that our connections with others can help us build our connection with ourselves. But yeah, I'm also just seeing the reverse, that when I'm not as in my practices of connection with myself, then I'm different in my relationships, and I'm almost like reaching and striving and seeking in a way that sometimes is a little edgy in relationships and isn't really the way I want to be. So yeah, it's a little bit humbling because I wish I was perfect. But, and I was also just realizing that too, that that's such an edge that we maybe don't, it's an edge, it's a part of this whole lifestyle of meditation and yoga and all these practices of self-study and looking within. It's like, well, that just means we are going to be aware and see things that we don't like too. It's like, oh, we talk about how that's going to lead us to the enlightenment and the peace and the happiness, but along the way, and probably part of what's going to get us to the enlightenment and the peace and the happiness is that we're going to see things that aren't so pretty, that we don't like, that we decide are not actually the best use of our energy or attention or focus or life approach. So it's interesting to love ourselves through that, right? And allow it to shift and change and make different choices, but not also get stuck on like judging ourselves when we see it. So yeah, it's interesting how that's where that non-judgment is so huge, because if we're just doing the looking at ourselves and we're judging ourselves, like it could turn us into even more misery, right? Which I definitely have, seen myself do both a lot. I'm still learning to watch that whole judgment of myself thing. And even, maybe there are the stems too, which I'm really just freshly approaching in my own life, even these last few days more, is like really, and this is a piece of it, I guess, a piece of the connection with self and more of a heartful connection with ourselves and more of a loving connection with ourselves. Because when I really take a look at how I've actually been with myself, as much as I may be doing things that look like self-love, I could give myself credit for that. Often still the dialogue with myself has not been so loving. Like when I really look again at how I'm talking to myself, how I'm thinking about myself, how I'm responding to myself, it has still not always been, or not often been, the most loving. And that's part of probably the disconnect, right? Is that judging that I've still been doing with myself even. And the ways that I've been talking to myself and being with myself that, again, I didn't even really realize that I still, or have been doing this so much. And really the opposite of love going on in there. Like you've heard in some videos, I've admitted like one of the mantras I've seen myself use. This is where you hear that. I just posted something recently, this idea that we're always making affirmations, whether we think we believe in them or not. Because if we realize that our words, our power, and how we feel is creating things, we realize we're doing that all the time, whether we're trying to or not. So we're like manifesting all the time, whether we like what we're manifesting or not. And so same thing, we've got these mantras. So my mantra, my dysfunctional mantra, I realize has been, what the fuck is wrong with me? That'll be kind of the way, a place I'll go, maybe sometimes in response to life or challenge or fear or things that are part of what are here to grow me probably, right? That I've seen we're all going into this spiral of what the fuck is wrong with me, thinking that's like a helpful thing to ask myself, like I'm going to get good information that's going to help me move forward. But it never really has worked that way. And then you can imagine like, yeah, you can take that as an example of a practice that was disconnecting me. And so when I'm in that place of what the fuck is wrong with me, and then I'm looking to how I'm going to connect with other people, when I'm coming to other people from this place of what the fuck is wrong with me, I'm going to be different in my relationships, right? Than when I'm now, like, practicing saying things to myself more like, oh, LJ, you're doing a great job. Really, you care so much, and it's okay, and you're learning so much. Like, how much different am I going to be with someone else when I'm in that place with myself? And how much more am I going to be able to be that way with someone else if I'm even slightly willing to be that way with myself? So it's some of that undeniable truth that's a little bit heavy. Because again, I see if I'm doing this with myself, and I haven't even had that traumatic of a life. I've had great parents, I don't have like any solid reasons to have these things going on in my head. It's not like, but it's like, wow, I can see if I'm struggling with this, and probably a lot of people are. Yeah. So the truth that this lifestyle of looking within is going to involve seeing these things and like realizing these things, like how much our connection with ourselves or our disconnection with ourselves is going to affect our relationships and how we're connecting with others and how we're not connecting with others. But the good news is it all comes back to reconnection is the answer. more ways to reconnect ourselves as the answer to help ourselves and how we can help others, right? And really figuring out what does that for us and actually doing it, right? Whether it's like for me, journaling is one of my great ways that I keep in touch with myself, and the more that I do it, the better. Also other things, like when I'm walking in nature. I mean, basically you can see all your practices can be intended to do that for you, whatever it is, whatever it helps you tune into you and do that reconnecting and get back in that self-loving place with yourself too, right? So that you're ready to be that and bring that to the world, right? It's like, so that's where we can really see that our practices, this is part of this theme that's been coming up so much, are not about this like selfish, get away from the world and just take care of me thing. It's like, no, it's like our way to take care of the world. We can't take care of the world any better than we can take care of ourselves. Interestingly, it seems. So, yeah, it seems kind of radical, but you can see it as evolved, that we're realizing some of these truths and then bringing that into our lifestyle, right? So, yeah, here's to what's possible in connection, reconnection, and how much our connection with ourselves can play a role in how we can connect with others, help others. You see, I hope. So I hope this was helpful and maybe helped you remember why you want to fit some of your reconnecting ways into your days, right? All right. Thanks so much for being here. Love sharing with you. Namaste.